Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, that's right. Saturday mornings. That means time for Florida Talk Real Estate. Thanks for carving out 2 hours for us every Saturday as we offer you up some infotainment. Lots of information in the world of real estate. And of course, we'll try to sprinkle in a little entertainment over the course of the next 2 hours, whether you're tuned in on the old terrestrial radio 92.1 or 101.7. Thank you. Maybe you're choosing to use the free download the iHeartRadio app. We're worldwide. Look for Real Radio 921. And thank you for tuning in. Or maybe, just maybe, you're streaming live with us out the gates. You'll find us on Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook, on YouTube as well, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. Streaming live on a Saturday. Thanks for tuning in right out the gates. I'm your boy, Johnny C., Air Traffic Control. There is a toll-free number. You're welcome to be a part of the show with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, or anything else on this eve. Merry Christmas Eve to all. Happy holidays to all. We'll get much deeper into that, of course. But 877-927-6969 if you'd like to be a part of the program. Our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy, will line you up. You make the call, we'll take the call. Again, I'm your boy, Johnny C. Let's say good morning to our starting lineup on a Saturday. If you're streaming with us, looking very festive, that's Ross Komarinetz with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. Ross, good morning.
Good morning. Ho, ho, ho. Very happy holiday.
Ross.
Put a smile on my face, man. I love when you bring a little flair. It's always a beautiful thing. Thanks for being with us on this Saturday, Christmas Eve, 7th day of Hanukkah, I believe. We're like getting into Kwanzaa, Holy Festivus for the rest of us. Man, we got a lot going on. And we also see the smiling face of our fearless leader if you're streaming with us. That's our guy, Jimmy D. I've told you for over a decade now. I'll be able to say 11 years here pretty soon. Jimmy D, Jim Paola, runs the top producing Keller Williams team, the Florida Home Pros team you'll find with Keller Williams Innovations. Jim DePola, that's Jimmy D. How you be?
Hey, Johnny. Hey, happy South Florida, everybody. Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas, Ross, Mr. Santa Claus for us on the show. Always coming in more prepared than the creator and host of the show meaning me, because I'm Jimmy D, right? And we have a really good show today. We're going to be talking. I sound like every time I say it that way, I sound like that Ed Sullivan guy. We got a really big show today. I think he called it shoe. We got a really big shoe today. So we got a lot of really good stuff to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about interest rates. We're going to talk about how the cold weather has affected the iguanas. Yes, it looks like today they're going to start falling out of the trees because it is super cold out here for Florida, but we're still very blessed compared to the rest of the country. Johnny's even got his skull cap on right now. I got his neck cap on.
Oh, I cut a lot of hairs off. My head's cold.
So that's pretty cool. We're also going to talk about we're going to talk about iBuyers. Remember the iBuyers stuff, Johnny? It was really big a couple years ago where the companies were coming in and buying everything.
Yeah, and those commercials have kind of faded a little bit. They used to be like constant, like you don't need a realtor. Yeah, it's constant. Yes.
Well, I have a really good story about what's really happened with that part of the market, and it totally imploded. So it was kind of fun to watch, and we're going to kind of remind people about that. And then we got a couple of things, but there's two things I want to start off with. Let's talk about Juno Beach for a second, where Ross's office is, right? It's in Juno Beach. That's the only Brightway office you should think of. You just think Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, because that's it, really. It doesn't matter that they're a super large company and they have all these franchises all over. All you need to know is that Juno Beach one is the one that you care about. But I was just watching on those reels or short videos or whatever the heck they're called, that one of the pizza joints up in a gas station up there, Ross, is ranked to be one of the top Portnoy pizzas. You know that David Portnoy guy, Johnny, that Barstool guy?
Yeah.
I know he's a little controversial or anything, but the guy knows his pizza, because I kind of agree the type of pizza he likes, the kind of pizza I kind of like. But anyway, there's a place called Willie's Gas Station. Have you not the gas station is a Shell gas station at Juno Beach, but inside is Willie's Pizza. Have you ever eaten there, Ross? Have you eaten a Willie's Pizza yet?
No, because I want to go over there and like grab a couple slices for lunch, but I don't think they open until like 3:00.
That's so true. And the other thing, so I started reading reviews about him because I was like, maybe I should drive up and grab some pizza up there one time, right? Because I don't live too far from there anyway, right? So anyway, I started reading the reviews on Yelp. Hilarious. Hilarious. The guy is the pizza Nazi. We found a new Nazi. Instead of having the soup Nazi, now we have the pizza Nazi. I don't care if I'm being inappropriate right now, okay?
Are you allowed to say
I know
that
at
anymore?
some point people had controversy about the soup Nazi. I don't care because it's still funny. But
It's a character in a television
I know
show.
it's
Settle down.
exactly. So, but anyway, this guy is totally the pizza Nazi. So this is what everybody says. He makes a great pizza. The guy's the biggest jerk in the world. Bad customer service, doesn't care about the people. People are begging in the reviews not to go to support his business because he's so mean and rude. But then they're like, hey, but I like the pizza. Just like the soup Nazi. So you know where I'm going. I'm going up there and I'm going to go meet this guy.
Yeah, and I hope you get a real good, genuine experience too.
Oh, me too.
If you walk out of there going, what a nice guy.
I heard he has like a favorite. I heard he has like his favorite pizza. I can't remember what it was, but it's got pepperoncinis on it, or
it's got banana peppers, and he makes this garlic sauce. It's like a garlic oil sauce, like with olive oil and garlic, and he presses it all together and he puts that on top of the pizza. And then he also has the banana peppers. He supposedly ran a restaurant. I don't know if he owned, but he ran a New York style pizza restaurant in New York City for 44 years. Then he moved down here, moved into the gas station. You could tell that he doesn't really care if he gets too much business. Even when Portnoy was like interviewing for it, Portnoy's like, this place is going to blow up now, because he gave it an 8.1. Now that's super high for him, right?
Yeah. So
anyway, I can't wait to meet this guy. I'm so excited. I hope I have the real experience, like Johnny says. One person actually came to the place. He calls up, nobody answers the phone. That's a big thing. Don't call, because he's not going to pick up the phone. And then if he does, he's going to be rude to you. The other thing people complained about was how much the pizza cost. Apparently, it's super expensive. I was reading people's complaints that the pizza is somewhere between large pizza, and he only sells large, is $32 to $40 for a pizza. Right. So people were complaining about that. And he actually told the customer, according to the Yelp review, hey, if you don't like it, go to Papa John's.
And I'm sure Papa John's loves the name insertion there, but that's the facts. Go somewhere else if you don't like his customer service or his pizza. But good for him, man. Sounds like he's crushing it. He makes a good pie. And if you can get $30 or $40 for your pie out of a gas station, crushing it.
I know, right? But
yes.
Here's one of my other favorite anecdotes I read yesterday, because then I ended up going deep and like spending a half hour reading about this guy, right? So the other thing that happened was somebody called, nobody picked up. So they went there, and it was supposed to be open, but it wasn't really open, but it looked like it was open. So they went to the gas station people and said, hey, what's going on with the pizza guy? Uh-oh. So they're like, oh, he's around here somewhere. Now it's a gas station. Where could he be? Right? The gas station people went and found Willie wherever he was in the building and said, hey, you got customers out front. And he said he didn't want to deal with them right now. Right? He goes, I don't want to deal with them right now. So the people were so mad, they walked around the building, and he's out there smoking cigarettes with his buddy.
Yeah, they got a little picnic table out there. He's out there like I'll stop in there to grab something real quick a lot, and that dude's just sitting out there at that picnic table smoking cigarettes.
So if he doesn't feel like making your pizza at that moment, he's not making your pizza, even for $40.
Well, that's why, because he sold the pizza already today. So.
Yeah, exactly. I sold my 3 pizzas. I'm good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. And then there was something else I wanted to mention. What else did you guys mention?
Get that guy on the air, Jim. We want to have guests on from time to time. I mean, hell,
I know we should have him on the air. Well, after I do my thing calling him the pizza Nazi, I don't know if he'll come on or not. Maybe he'll like it. Maybe he'll like it better.
I'm sure he'll embrace that. Yeah. Probably not.
He'll have to have his finger on that dump button, I'm sure.
The funny part, Portnoy didn't even want to. He forced him to eat the garlic pizza with the banana pepper, and he didn't want to do it. So he got the regular pizza he normally buys, but the guy made him eat the other pizza, and he was giving him attitude. He was getting Portnoy attitude about you had to eat the pizza, or he wasn't getting the big pizza, right? And then, so when he was eating it, then he was like, "Wow, this is actually very, very good." The other thing that was interesting is that the guy is Colombian. He's from Colombia, the country, right? So he's not Italian. But he wears the Italian, I noticed on his gold chain, he wears the Italian horn. Remember the old Italian horns that were super popular back then?
Oh, yeah.
He's wearing
You
that.
typically saw
I
him
love this guy.
with one, like maybe two more buttons. We're like, man, give us like two more buttons, please, on that shirt. Like two more. And they're normally getting out of like a IROC. Yeah, that's what I picture when I see the Italian horn. Or I picture Dano. For all the Real Radio fan, Dano.
Peacocks. Yeah,
I know. What is it? I think it's the 45th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. You could think of, Saturday Night Fever. It's the 45th anniversary this month for Saturday Night Fever.
Really?
There was a lot of. I bet you went back and watched that video. I'm sure you'd see a lot of the horns, the Italian horn, good luck horns there too. I'm sure you'd see a lot of that over there.
Oh, is that there? It's good luck.
Yeah, it's a good luck thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I forget what I know it's a horn, but I call it the Italian horn.
Yeah,
but I can't remember.
Yeah, and I didn't even really know the significance of it. But again, not Italian, so
yes. Hey, just wanted to shout out Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas, Francis. I hope you're having a great day. Stay warm. It's cold outside. We're going to be talking about iguanas in just a little bit. Oh, well, let's get into that right now. The weather. So I've been reading, we became national news. Florida always is, but we became national news again because of the iguanas falling out of the trees. So I started reading about that, right? So the temperature supposedly, if you read the Sentinel, it says 45 degrees. If you read the Washington Post, it says 50 degrees, but somewhere under 50 degrees, that's where the iguanas start going into their comas and trying to tough out the cold weather. But I learned a lot of little interesting facts about how that whole thing is changing right now.
What do you mean?
So first of all, the way it works is if anybody's listening, the people that are listening, not in Florida, we have these iguanas. They can get up to 5 feet long. Some of them weigh 20 pounds or more, right, Johnny? I think they could even get into 30 pounds.
Yeah, I love them so much. My family embraces iguanas so much, but look at them. If you're watching on the stream, look how do you not love that thing?
I feel like that thing's just like mocking me. It's looking at me funny, like, come get me, man.
I know, it's so funny, right? So during the summer, like especially on the beach, where I live right now, they're usually lined up, right? They're lined up on the sidewalk when it's sunny out, and they're just standing like that iguana you just saw on the screen, just standing there, just soaking in the rays. And they almost look like they're in marching orders almost because they're lined up almost military style. And they're always pointed the same way. So they're always pointed towards the east together or towards the west together or whatever. They're always pointed in the same direction because of the sun. But when it gets too cold out, they're known to their body temperature in order to protect themselves to live. They drop their body temperature so much that the blood doesn't flow. And they actually have warnings in Florida that you have to watch out that if you're walking underneath trees that you might be rained on by iguanas falling out of the trees. So here's a couple of things I found out. Number one, iguanas aren't the only ones in Florida that fall out of trees and go into immobilization during cold weather. There's several other lizards that do that. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I thought it was just the iguanas.
I just assumed iguanas get all the attention because potentially the biggest of them.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. But I didn't know that. So that was a little factoid that I didn't know. The other thing is less iguanas are starting to fall out of the trees.
But they're evolving?
Yes, that's exactly it. They're evolving. The iguanas are evolving right now. Ross is giving a sigh. What's up, Ross?
I mean, they're an invasive species. Yeah. I'm not too fond of them. It's not good that they're adapting to the environment.
Yeah, that's the real bad part. Is they do cause a lot of havoc, like our seawalls. They burrow and just they cause so much havoc. They can knock out power.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that again. I haven't updated the power outage lines I just read about. Remember last time we were talking about how this large iguana got up to the Lake Worth Power Utilities plant and climbed up the pole, and it was big enough to cross 2 wires, and it shorted out the power for about 1,300 people for not very long, like 20 minutes or something. But supposedly that was the 5th time it happened that year. Apparently it's happened over 30 times this year. So almost 2.5 times a month, your power's going out if you live in Lake Worth because of critters climbing up the poles. Now, it's not just iguanas. It's raccoons, iguanas. What else did they say? I know there was a third animal, but definitely raccoons and iguanas. Oh. And the power plant has been shut down 30 times this year because of animals climbing up the plant poles. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They're spending a whole bunch of money trying to declimify the poles. That's a Jim DePola word, but they're putting stuff on the poles so that you can't get up to the power lines. But it's not working very well because iguanas are pretty good climbers. So anyway, the iguanas are evolving now to the point where they're getting used to the cold weather. So that's
we're not cold long enough, often enough. Like, I'm surprised that's actually a thing.
Well, what the animal people say was that the ones that don't survive the cold weather have a different type of gene than the ones that do. So the ones that die during the cold weather, they die off. They have the inferior gene, if you will. So the ones that survive, they're the ones that are more likely to go out and breed again. Huh. So that's kind of what's going on. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. So the case of the falling iguanas continues, but it might not be news 5 years from now. Maybe 5 years from now, maybe the iguanas are liking the cold.
Maybe start heading up north,
Yeah.
My buddy in Arizona told me that they're starting to find more and more rattlesnakes that don't have rattles.
Huh.
Oh, wonder what
because when you hear the rattle, you kill the ones with the rattles. And so I guess there's more and more that don't have rattles.
So I wonder if there still is as poisonous as the ones with the rattles.
I don't know.
That's pretty
so. I mean, I never really Googled it. Pardon?
Go ahead, Ross, go.
I said, I never really Googled it, looked into it, but my buddy's one of the smarter people I know, and he had told me that. So I don't know how true it is, but that's what he told me.
Well, the last thing I want to just talk about critters, just to wrap up critters, was did you guys see that alligator swimming in the ocean?
Yeah.
Did you see that on social media?
I didn't like that one bit either.
Somebody was flying around, or was a drone or something, but anyway, they were looking down and they are actually looking for sharks.
Right.
And
following one of the shark migrations.
Yeah, they were looking for a shark, and they ended up seeing this pretty large alligator just swimming out there in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I didn't even understand what was going on, and I think that was right off of Juno.
Yeah, it was in Jupiter Inlet.
Yeah, it was off the Jupiter Inlet. I've never seen an alligator swimming in the water that far out before.
Every once in a while they'll show up in South Beach.
Yeah, see, I thought that had to be a crocodile, right? Because we know we have crocodiles in the South, Miami and stuff. There's still crocodiles down there, which is different than alligators for people that don't know. And crocodiles are much more vicious than alligators. So I thought it was, and they're more likely to deal with salt water, or at least brackish water. And I thought it would be a crocodile, but it was definitely alligator because the head, you could tell it was an alligator.
Oh, yeah.
So it was pretty wild. So gotta love
hopefully that doesn't turn into a regular thing. Gators in the oceans is not a good addition.
I don't mind the sharks because I don't mind the sharks, but I just don't need a gator. I don't like gators. I don't like them.
Yeah, apparently there was a guy that was washing his hands on the side of the canal recently, and he got attacked by a gator, and it's just pretty crazy. I never went out to the gator hunts when I was a reporter. I always wanted to go to the gator hunts just to watch it. And I wasn't able to go. I was never selected to go on the gator hunts. Damn you, some sentinel. They sent me out to hurricanes, but they won't send me out to the gator hunts, the good stuff.
Well, I'm sorry, Jim. Maybe one day we can get a listener out there who's got some tags to take you out on a gator hunt.
Yeah,
python hunt.
I think, the python hunt. That's true. I haven't seen that yet either. That is pretty scary though, about how they can actually, we're seeing these pythons where they're eating alligators, I think. and other
reading everything. That's the problem.
Everything.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I'm hoping that goes away.
Yeah, they're evolving in the wrong ways too. 877-927-6969. We are live on this Saturday, December 24th. I believe we're 7th day of Hanukkah. Is it 8?
I don't know. I was trying to I was going to look that up right before I came and I didn't.
I think it started Sunday. And I apologize to all of our Jewish friends out there, but I think it started Sunday. But happy Hanukkah. I know Kwanzaa's coming up. We are in holiday season, and we are live on this Saturday, December 24th. You're welcome to be a part of the program. Questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. Of course, if you want to jump into whatever we're talking about, it will be a little bit of infotainment for you over the next couple of hours. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a team of pros. You can get in contact with the entire team, your one-stop real estate shop at floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. You'll see the hotline there as well, 888-973-7828. Call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You got a live body answering that hotline. Find all that information at floridatalkrealestate.com.
I just want to do two shout out. I'm sorry, I'm watching. There's a delay on the Facebook page, and I got caught up on that. Sorry about that. I shouldn't be looking. Okay. I wanted to just do two shout outs today, and I wanted to do it because basically I'm trying to show like what this team is capable of doing, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but I wanted to give a shout out to Terry and Crystal, who came to me after Crystal's father had passed just a few weeks ago, about a month ago this week. And they called me right away, and they needed to sell their dad's property. And they had tenants in there, and there were code enforcement fines or code enforcement problems. They weren't fined yet. And building department issues. The tenants weren't real happy that they were going to be having to move. They were on month-to-month rent. And the family was just totally, the owners, Terry and Crystal, were just totally overwhelmed as to how to handle this problem. And the first time, actually the second time I met him in person was when I went to go take the listing. And when I got there, I think I told you about this a couple of weeks ago. There were two sheriff's deputies at the house trying to deal with some problems over there with the tenants. And it was just very overwhelming to them. And the big problem is they needed to sell the property, but there were so many problems with it that they probably were going to take a real beating, because they told me, Jim, I don't want to evict the tenants. I don't want to deal with the code enforcement. I don't want to deal with the building department. I'd really rather just sell it as it is. And the property was in not great shape, and that's being generous. So it would have been so easy, because they were in such a desperate situation. They basically would have taken pretty much anything that somebody would have recommended for the property. And when people get in that situation, guys, there's a lot of money to be lost at that point if you don't have somebody that has your back and look out for you. And that's what I did when I stepped in. So the first thing we did is that I told them, look, it's really important that you find out what's going on with this property so that we can tell any potential buyer exactly what needs to be done. Because just like regular buyers, investors have psychological barriers that they got to get through in order to give you a price. And one thing that people don't expect is that investors are just like regular people. So if they see a messy house, even though that they know that they're going to touch every square inch of that house eventually, when they see it's all messy and dirty and smelly, or if there's problems that they know they have to fix with the government, okay, psychologically, they're not going to give you as much as if you took care of some of those problems and spruced up the house a little bit yourself.
Sure.
So we were starting to work on that and doing the research. And during that time, we went out to one of the we buy houses fast for cash kind of companies, right, that I've worked with a lot. And we had them come look at it, and they, sight unseen, they didn't come in the house. We just gave them idea of what was going on with the property, gave them some comps, gave them the address so they could do a drive-by. And they gave us a number to buy it. And the family, and it was almost the number that the family said that they would take, but it was a little too low. But with all the problems that they had with the property, it wasn't like a super insulting offer, but it was lower than what they really needed.
Okay.
And so we had them do the research, and we put a sign out. We started collecting buyers so that when we put it on the market, that we'd have buyers lined up. And then we had this one buyer came, and they offered us the full asking price, which was significantly higher than what the We Buy Houses Fast for Cash company was offering, with no inspection. And we were like, no inspection at all. And they hadn't gone in to see the house because we don't have it on the MLS yet, so we can't show it to anybody. So I called them up. I'm like, are you really going to buy the house sight unseen? Because there's building department fines or building department violations. I keep saying fines, that's different. And code enforcement violations that need to be taken care of. So we went back and forth for about 10 days, and we just got them under contract, full asking price on Thursday.
Nice.
No inspection. We were very transparent with the buyers, so they knew exactly what was going on with the property, what needed to be done. The owners did agree to evict the people and pull the people out of the house. That's happening right now. And they're making 25% more than what they probably would have made if they weren't just patient and not take the first offer that came and did a little research and try to find out what was happening.
It's a lot of money.
Making 25% more, which is exactly what they need to take care of their financial issues after they sell the house, because they're going to use the money from the sale of this house to do some things with their personal finances to make them in a better situation. But they needed a certain amount. Right now on paper, we're supposed to be closing in about 20 days. On paper, they got it, and we got it for them. And the reason why we're able to do that, and I'm not saying it is like pound my chest, look at us. I don't like when realtors do that. Look, we just closed. We closed. What this is really about is about trying to understand the needs of the customer, not making promises you can't keep, because I told Terry and Crystal, I don't know if we're going to get that price that we're going to put it on the market for, but let's see if we can. But let's be flexible if we need to be. And then when we got offers that came in low, we didn't just go over there and say, you got to take this offer, you got to take this offer, let's close. We actually said, let's be patient. We have time. Let's do more stuff and see if we can get a better offer. And by doing that and taking my advice, they ended up making 25% more than they were going to make, which is just an awesome, awesome story. And I'm so happy, and they deserve it. They're a really good family. They're doing all the right things. And it was a very overwhelming situation. And by having us, which we had a great title company check out to make sure all the probate stuff was going on. They found an excellent attorney before they met me to do the eviction. And they're doing excellent on the evictions right now, and all that's going through smooth. And then we were also able to give them the coaching needed about the code enforcement and the building department to make sure that we weren't going to fall out of contract because the buyers didn't know something they needed to know. So congratulations to Terry and Crystal. Yeah. Can't wait till we get that done.
Awesome story. That's great. And a great example of just the depths that you can find with the connection you can make with the pros at floridatalkrealestate.com, your one-stop real estate shop.
Well, thank you. And the other thing is when I called up Terry to tell him the good news, he literally started tearing up on the phone. He was so happy.
Nice.
So it was like one of the best holiday gifts I could get was to see the appreciation and hear that appreciation in their voices and knowing I was really impacting somebody's life for the better. And it was win-win because the people buying it, they're super excited about buying it.
Sure.
So they're investors and they know they're probably going to make good money on that property. And God bless them because there's a lot of work to be done to make that money. But the buyers, the sellers could walk away knowing that they got a very fair price for the property at the same time. So it's great.
Awesome.
The other person that I wanted to give a shout out to is Mary and Stan. Mary and Stan live in a intercoastal condo property on the west coast of Singer Island on the intercoastal, and this is going to be the 4th unit I've sold in that community. It's called Lake Harbor Cove. I love selling properties in this community because if you're looking for affordable, gorgeous waterfront views, this is one of the buildings you got to check out, Lake Harbor Cove.
Let me ask you, just because, Jim, I called the database, the Florida Talk Real Estate database, for a year, roughly.
Yes.
Is Stan Canadian?
Yes, it is. And he actually mentioned you, Johnny. I forgot about that. Yes, Stan.
I'm so happy to hear this is happening, because I think about a few folks in particular from time to time, and this is one older couple that I was like, man, I hope they land with Jim and find a sweet spot to get rid of that condo. Not because they need to get rid of it, just because it's about the right time in their lives to be like, we're not really going to Florida much anymore. And that's awesome. Please continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so they're octogenarians. They've been around a while. They've lived in this condo for 34 years. They've had this condo. And the condo's very nice, and the views on these condos are just gorgeous. I mean, it's just you're on the wide part of the intercoastal, and the sunrises that you can see are just spectacular. And if you're into telescopes and stuff like that, the balcony you have is over 20 feet long and 8 feet wide. It's just like this gigantic balcony, and you have spectacular views in the living room and the master bedroom. And when I was sitting in the living room getting ready for the photography, I was sitting on the couch and I was staring out, looking at the intercoastal, the boats going by, the piers, all that stuff going on. And I was like, wow, you don't even need a TV in this house, because that's your television. It's just looking out the backyard and just enjoying everything that's out there. And this unit's going to be going on the market next week. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. It's only $365,000 with this view that is there. The unit's in very, very good shape. About 7 years ago or so, they upgraded the kitchen and did some upgrades in the house, but it still probably needs a little bit more upgrade. But at $365,000, are you kidding me? There's plenty of money to go in there to do the few little upgrades that you might want to do, upgrade the bathroom maybe, that kind of thing. So really great unit. But the reason why I'm really happy that I'm working with Stan and Mary is because I'm a problem solver, and they're not U.S. residents. They are Canadian nationals that live down here part-time as snowbirds. And that's a big deal when you're selling a house and you're not a U.S. resident or a U.S. citizen. You have to basically pay 15% of the purchase price, whatever the sold price is. You got to give that to the title company as you're selling the house.
Yeah, so now Jim's really getting into the depths of why. Look, there's a lot of options, but this is one couple I remember, because they're not like in an urgent situation. But they need people to trust and guide them in the right direction so they can maximize, right? Because you can lose a lot of money real quick if you're not working with people that know all the potholes and the potentials to lose money. These are the examples right here of why I'm so glad that they decided to work with Jim in the long run here, because there's some serious money on the table that they could lose out if they don't navigate these waters appropriately.
Yes, and we had a customer last year, Johnny, that was going through this in Jupiter Farms, and we got him to the Trident Title. So there's a thing called the Foreign Investors Real Estate Property Tax Act. It's called FIRPTA, right? FIRPTA. And if you're not a U.S. citizen or a U.S. resident and you sell your house, your property, you have to give 15% upfront to Uncle Sam at closing, whether you owe that money or not, for capital gains. And then if you paid too much, then you can go back to Uncle Sam and get the money back. But you have to give it to it up front, because they're afraid you're going to leave the country and not pay your capital gains taxes. So they make you do that. But many people don't have to pay that 15%. They can back out certain costs on the sale of the home and the ownership of the home, so they can pay less than 15% and satisfy the claims for Uncle Sam. So this family isn't really sophisticated on all that. So we got them over to Paul Krasker, the law office of Paul A. Krasker, who then we're using the same company we used last time, which is a company that just specializes in FIRPTA and deals with tax issues for FIRPTA. So we have them with that we have them with that company now.
Nice.
And they're doing all the research. And if we get the results that we got from the last people, they paid about half up front of what they were going to pay if they didn't use these services that we had at our disposal to offer to them. Now, Stan and Mary aren't paying any extra to me. And just like Terry and Crystal are not paying any extra for all that other stuff that I'm doing for them, checking with the code enforcement, the building department, trying to figure out the best ways to find cash investors for a house and that are really going to close, or to deal with tax implications on selling your home, which I'm not an accountant, so you don't take my advice, right? But I get you to the people that have the expertise that you need. And it doesn't cost you anymore. We don't charge. Florida Home Pros, here does not charge more money than other people to sell your home or help you buy the home. So, when you're thinking about that, just think about us, because we're there. And what we really try to do? We try to help people. We're not here to just do the closings and stuff. That's why you don't see me out there on social media too much talking about all my closings all the time. I usually try to tell you a story about what the closing was about, because that's really what it's about, is impacting people's lives.
That's right. That sounds good to you. Remember, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You get the entire team, like Ross Komarinetz, Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, Jimmy D with the Florida Home Pros team. We mentioned Krasker Law, Perry CPA. We, of course, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm, Mike Rao, who's with us most Saturdays. This is multifaceted talents. And I always say they're pros, experts in their field. We're talking about top of the crop here. The cream always rises, right? Look, there's great people out there. You can find people that are great at what they do. We've done all the work for you. I'm telling you, go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You have a hub of people that work great together, and not only work great together, good people, care about your outcome, and believe me, very good at what they do. Sometimes you're going to get answers you don't want to hear, but those are the best answers for you. And obviously, we like options when we're dealing with things, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Options is a beautiful thing, and more times than not, you're getting some options at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop.
So, Ross, let me, we went into very big detail last show about what happened with the new bill that was passed in state Congress, state law, about how to handle homeowners insurance and the crisis we're going through. I was wondering, it's been a week later. I was wondering if you could give us any tips about dealing with all the changes that are happening with the homeowners insurance policies, and if you see any trends or things people should know about when they're trying to buy a policy right now in today's market.
I mean, we're not going to see any impact from that bill, probably at least a year and a half, 2 years. But as far as, right now, everybody's looking to, save as much money as possible, just because the environment, the rates are going up so much across the board. And we're staying pretty busy, quoting a lot of stuff. But every once in a while, somebody will email me back and say, "Oh, I got a lower quote through the same company. I'm just going to go with that one." Okay. But what a lot of people don't know is if you're getting a lower quote from the same company, those rates are the rates. And so why is it so low? What is the difference? You want to make sure that whether you have a conversation with me about why mine's much higher, or have a conversation with the other agent about why it's so low. Most of the time it lies in dwelling coverage, which is, fairly subjectable. You can manipulate that coverage to be either higher or lower. We try to do it as accurate as possible to make sure that the house is covered correctly. But that's probably a lot of the times where that difference is. And you just want to make sure you're having a conversation with either agent about why it's either higher or why it's either lower.
So explain that to me about the dwelling coverage. So first of all, could you just explain what dwelling coverage is? So let's say I have a fire in my house, right? That's what we're talking about, this kind of stuff, right?
We're talking about how much we're insuring that actual house for, the actual structure.
The structure, not the contents.
Not the contents, just
So
the
the
structure.
dwelling. So why would that? I would think that would be more of a fixed number because the footprint is the footprint and the construction is the construction. I would figure like the contents in the house is where you can mess around with because you could decide what you want to, how much you want to cover it for and how much you don't. But the dwelling structure, how do you mess around with that?
So the insurance company requires the house to be insured to at least 100% replacement cost.
Right.
Some carriers allow you to go 10% over. Some carriers allow you to go 25% over. But it has to be at least 100%. And so each carrier has their own replacement cost estimator that you kind of got to go through and fill out. And you could say, you could be looking at a house like Johnny C's, big, nice, gold plated, and you could just, put that house as basic construction as opposed to premium construction. And so, premium's going to be higher than basic, and so, when you're doing bathrooms and kitchens, you can, have a Mac Daddy bathroom that you're putting as basic. And maybe you're not, putting in the right, you could just say, oh, it's 100% carpet, when really it's, tile and wood. And so all those things go into calculating the replacement cost. And, we try to be as accurate as possible. We've got access to the MLS. We're pretty good at searching the internet for pretty much anything. So, we're looking at the inside of the house, what those floors are, what if there's, upgrades like a trade cove ceiling, kind of dug out a little bit. What are the countertops in the kitchen? Are they Formica or are they granite? Those are all things that you can play around with, but, of course we could dumb it down and make it as low as possible. But at the end of the day, we're doing a disservice at that point.
So Ross, let me ask you. So I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Stan and Mary, if you've been listening with us, who Jim is now working with. Condo is going to be listed here in about a week. So I talked to a lot of folks that I connected to you over the year that I was working the database pretty often. And I would always tell people like, hey, Ross is going to give you, a few options if he can, and he'll lay them out for you. I'm like, but the best thing that I could tell you is to get back in touch with him and like compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Don't just say, oh, this quote versus this quote. Like, I'm just going to go with this. You got to understand the difference, which is really kind of what you're really locking in on right now. What percentage of people take the time to say, hey, Ross, help me understand these? Or is it just flat out like 9 out of 10 go, I'm going to take this price? Like, help me understand how far do people care when they're deciding for their coverage?
Well, when I send out quotes, I always send out two different ones. And I really try to explain the difference between the two in the email in very layman's terms. So a lot of people can read that email and understand, okay, I want this one based on this, or I want this one based on that. Also in my email, I say, these are not either or. We can customize coverages and deductibles, to make sure that it fits you. So, most of the people, read it and, look at it and say, I'll take this one this year and maybe I'll upgrade it next year. Or, what, give me that best coverage. That's what I want.
How many go, let's take the time to customize this? Like, because to me, when you say that, I think people go, Ross doesn't have time for me to do that. It sounds expensive. Like, but what to me, that feels like the best way to kind of work your number right to where you're like, that's good. I got good coverage. I'll spend it as little as I can. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. And we're busy, but we always have time for you, whether it's me or you can ask anybody in my office and they'll be able to go over those, make the changes, and, let you know what those numbers are. But probably about 25%, I would say that have a little bit more questions.
So what would happen? Like in real life? Let's say that you have the basic construction insurance, but you're living in a premium construction house. And then let's say that you have real damage to your house, right? That's a pretty big headache at that point.
Yeah,
right?
because all insurance policies have what's called a co-insurance clause, which means that at the time of the claim, the house has to be the dwelling coverage has to be at least 80% of the cost to rebuild. So I know we have to insure the home at 100% replacement cost, but sometimes you don't update your dwelling coverage, or the carrier doesn't have an inflation guard. So the policy you bought 5 years ago, for 200,000 now should be at 300,000, but for whatever reason, it was never increased. So if your house isn't insured for at least 80% of the replacement cost, so whatever that number is, let's say it's 50%, 60% of the replacement cost, that's all that the insurance company is on the hook to pay.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
If you have a $50,000 claim and your home's insured at 60% of the replacement cost, you're only getting 60%.
Right. And then you've got to pull that money out of your pocket or you get a much plainer house than you had before.
Yeah.
So that's something really to consider when you're doing that. The other thing is, so
wait. How would the bank feel about that? They loan you money to buy what you buy, and then you have this catastrophic event and then build it back to considerably lesser.
Well, so the bank just requires the loan, their minimum the bank's minimum coverage for a dwelling coverage is how much you owe. That's the bank's minimum. Now they want it to be insured at that number or at least 100% replacement cost. And they used to actually ask us to send in our replacement cost estimators to justify it. But there was a law that was passed maybe 2 years ago that says that we can't send those things anymore because they're proprietary information, and the bank can't require them either if they want to do business in Florida.
Oh, it's a Florida law. Interesting.
Yep. So, so one of the things I'm taking away from this, if we go to you and you're giving us a quote for Citizens for a certain amount of money, and then I go to another company to get a second quote, and they're also giving me Citizens, but it's at a lower premium amount, something's got to give, right? Because it's still with Citizens. So what that means is the numbers, it isn't apples to apples anymore. Those two, whatever was plugged into the system, the numbers were different for that same property. And that's why you're getting a different price, right? So if you had 5 insurance agents from 5 different companies, right? And you had the same exact house and you plugged in the same exact numbers for all 5 insurance agents into the system for Citizens, you're going to get the same exact number.
I mean, if you're using the same exact
that's
number,
what I'm saying. If you're putting in
dwelling coverage, personal property, deductible, all that stuff, if you're using all those same numbers, that premium should be exactly the same.
So the reason why I'm going down this way, okay, I'm trying to do it logically. So what that tells me then, that isn't really why you're hiring the insurance agent. The insurance agent does make a difference in your life, the insurance company you choose. But if you're going to like Citizens, the value isn't that ABC company can get a better deal from Citizens than XYZ company, insurance company. What the benefit is that the agent you're working with is giving you the real numbers so that you can make decisions that best meet your budget and the protection that you want. And to me, it sounds like a lot of people, what they do is like, oh, ABC company gave me a $3,200 premium for insurance for Citizens. And the other guy is also giving me Citizens and it's only $2,800. So I'm going to use them. That doesn't really show any kind of value of what you're getting at that point, because something is different. And it would be different, I guess, if the lower premium policy agent said, hey, the reason why you're getting a lower policy is because of this and this and this we did to your policy to change the numbers around. Are you okay with that? That's what Ross would do, right? That's what you do.
Yeah. I mean, with Citizens, there's not much stuff you can even do to make it cheaper.
Right.
Really, the max deductible is $2,500. for all other perils. And then you can go to a 5% hurricane deductible. And people don't really see that number a lot of the times.
Right.
You know, they just kind of look, okay, basic cover, and then bottom line premium. You know, they don't notice that their deductible went from $6,000 to $15,000. You know?
Right.
So
very important stuff.
Making sure that you understand that stuff. You know, so if you're looking at 2 quotes, even if they're not from me, I'll tell you what the difference is. You know, it doesn't. You know, there's plenty of times I tell people, hey, we can't help you. You know, you've got something good already. You know, if that's what you want. You know, people send me, hey, I already got a Citizens quote. And I email them back and say, Citizens is the best option. You know, if you've got one, go with that one.
You're locked in. You're good. Yeah, and that's what you'd like to hear sometimes is just the reality, right? Being told you're good. Stay with what you got, especially if Ross is telling you that, because he's telling you, like, trust me, there's not much more I can do for you. And I think at that point, he's probably telling you you're with a pretty decent company too. So, because I've had Ross tell me, you're rolling the dice, my friend. And fortunately, I didn't crap out. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You want to work with pros, experts in their field. We call it the one-stop real estate shop for a reason, because you have access to the entire team at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. On Facebook, we're streaming live right now. Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. Thanks for finding your way in. On YouTube as well, there's home of a ton of informational chunk videos for you to consume on pretty much everything in the world of real estate. And, of course, we stream live as well. Florida Talk Real Estate, LLC. That's the YouTube channel for Florida Talk Real Estate.
And just wanted to mention one more thing about that. That's what our whole philosophy is over here at the full Florida Talk Real Estate team. All these companies that are privately owned, and we all work together as a team for our customers to get them the best results. Ross will give you advice on policies, even if you're not necessarily working with Ross. That's just the way he's built. We do the same thing all the time. I have several people now looking at new construction homes, but we still have them going to Mike to ask questions about mortgages and get advice on mortgages. Mike knows that, Mike Ralph from the mortgage firm, he knows that he probably isn't going to get that business, because a lot of time the developers have special relationships with certain lenders, right, and they get better discounts because of that. But Mike's there to answer the questions, because we want to be your go-to people for life, not just for one transaction, but all your transactions. And that's what we want to do, is be there to give you the answers that you need, because knowledge is power. And that gives you the right, helps you make the right decisions in your life. And that's what we're about. I wanted to mention something to wrap up this hour, and then we will take the 10 o'clock break, because we went a little too far today. I just was checking out, this is like a really big thing, is that not next Saturday, but the Saturday after is actually going to be the official 11th year anniversary of the show. Can you imagine that? 11 years.
Like on the button, the Saturday?
January 7th. January 7th is the date. We launched January 7th, 2012.
Pretty cool.
And now January 7th, 2013 is going to be 2 Saturdays from now. So we're going to try to have a special show that day. Anybody listening that we've helped in some way, or you're just a fan of the show and you like listening to us, and you just like it because we're fun and entertaining and give you information, and we're on Real Radio, please plan on giving us a call live that Saturday. We'd love to just flood the show with calls of people that had experiences with us over the years. We've counseled thousands and thousands of people over the 11 years on the show. And we've been there for them in thick and thin. We've been there when we were in the worst real estate market recorded in the history of the United States. That's how we started this show. Yeah. And we started the show by helping people, right? We started the show by doing loan mods and short sales and giving advice and bankruptcy and foreclosure defense when it was needed, to help people that were in big, big trouble with people's mortgages. Then, as the market started coming back, but not really growing, people needed help buying. So we became experts in the government programs to help people buy properties and get down payment assistance. Johnny, you were one of the first people on this radio show, maybe not one of the first, because I think you bought in 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But you were in that first wave of people that we were using down payment assistance programs to help them buy their properties.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I own my home ownership 100% is because of Florida Doc Real Estate, like 100%, not only through all the process, but the buildup. Like I was not in a position to buy a home, but I remember Jim going, Johnny, you have to buy a home. Now is the every day we wait, it gets further and further away. And I was like, Jim, I can't buy anything. You want to see my credit? Let's look at my credit. And it just got built for me from there. Here's the way to do it. And I just trusted in the process and the team. And lo and behold, it only took 9 months, I think.
I think it was about 9 months from the day that we got serious.
Yeah, and my credit was shot, by the way. But 9 months from the start time to closing date on our home.
And it was a tough market to buy back then. It was a very tough market to buy. Johnny didn't have a ton of money. He was using FHA financing.
Yeah,
so he wasn't like a primo buyer that people were just going to jump at it. And we went through a couple of offers that didn't get accepted.
Yep.
A little disappointing, but we carried forward, and they've been very happy with the house. The other things that we've done is as insurance rates started changing over time, because we had high insurance rates and then they surprisingly got very affordable. Once we started realizing that, Ross was right there, and part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show. And we started telling everybody, hey, do you want to reduce your mortgage payment without refining your home? Use this backdoor secret to get a lower mortgage payment, monthly mortgage payment, by reconfiguring your insurance policy.
Yep.
Then we found out, remember this, gap insurance for hurricanes? Then there was even a little period where gap insurance was working really well, where you got a higher insurance policy for your hurricane insurance, but then you bought this secondary policy that had a gap for your down payment, for your deductibles. And it was a really great way to handle things for a while. And then it started not getting so good anymore. Then the numbers changed, and we were the first ones to say, hey, gap insurance is so passé. That's so yesterday. Don't worry about it anymore. But we're there for you all the time. Now what's happening is the Hometown Heroes Project, where you can get up to $25,000 to help pay for your down payment and closing costs, right? That program's there for like 107 employment positions. And if you can't get that program, there's still a pretty decent program. It's not as good as the Hometown Heroes, but a decent program where you can get $10,000 in down payment assistance in a program that's pretty good. So we are there for you like every step of the way. And that's what we've done for the last 11 years. And we're going to continue to do that until Real Radio tells us we're not allowed to be here anymore, which at any time can happen at any time. I hope it doesn't happen anytime soon, but that's the reality of radio. And we want you to be involved on that show. So that's going to be January 7th. Please, if you have any experiences with us, we'd love to hear from you, and let other people know what we do, because what we do on this show, the thing that's most surprising me about this show is when I meet people off the air and they're like, wow, you do exactly what you say you do on the air. And I'm like, yeah, we've been doing this for 11 years. We wouldn't be around for 11 years if it wasn't for that. And we wouldn't have had the great success we've had together as a team if it wasn't for the audience, the Real Radio audience. And we'll never forget that.
Oh, yeah. Well, now, and for the Real Radio audience that has always been Team Johnny C, trust your boy. I ain't getting up Saturday mornings to do this if this team ain't delivering. Some of the first words I spoke to Jim when we started the show was, I can only be with you guys if you do what you say you're going to do. And Jim looked me right in the face and said, I'm going to do my best to deliver. And I was like, let's go.
Yep.
11 years later, the team comes through time and time again. They care about people first and foremost. The outcome, how it affects you, what your future looks like. It really does truly matter. Jim said earlier in the show, it's about, working with you in the future. If you're just scraping to get the one deal, I know there's plenty of people out there that can help you. We're trying to build relationships where you recommend to your friends and family when you think, hey, I need help. I need property insurance, or I need a realtor, or anything in the world of real estate. We want to be the connection. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You instantly think it. You push people there. It's about building relationships, caring about the community. I know that sounds a little trite, but man, this team, these people that I've worked with for now almost 11 years. Hell, Jimothy's with us every Saturday too. Now he'll tell you it's because he's getting paid, but he's worked with the team. No, I'm kidding. He's worked with the team. He cares about this team too. He knows what they can do. Like we really step out in front and go Florida Talk Real Estate, not because we're paid to, because it's easy for us. Because you'll come back and be like, thanks for that. You're welcome. I'll give you the you're welcome ahead of time. Go to people that are good at what they do. Great at what they do if you can. That's why I tell you, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Good at what they do is everywhere. Great at what they do is hard to find. When you find it, share it. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Let's do a little reset. What do you say, Jimmy B?
Please, thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
We got a lot more to get into as the holiday season's in full swing. We'll have some info, some tainment, and of course, your phone calls are welcome at 877-927-6969. Say hi to Jimothy. We'll get you on the air with Ross Komarinetz, Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, and of course, Jimmy D, Jim DePolo with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations. We lost Ross. We'll be back. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
Got something to say?
Yeah, it's just like Christmas. I heard it not shut, so I was kind of, oh, good, Johnny's not going to have to worry about it. Yeah. 1225.
this or that, is it?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a lab. Just what I'm thinking.
Jar Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Man, during the break, stepped out front, get a little fresh air. Wow, am I getting soft in my old age? It is freezing out. Oh, those poor iguanas. Johnny C, that's me. Thank you for being with us on a Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment is what we offer you every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate. Great to have you with us. Of course, you're welcome to be a part of the program. You heard that toll-free number, 877-927-6969. Our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy, will line you up. Make the call. We'll take the call on the world of real estate or anything that's happening. You're more than welcome. Little loosey-goosey show on this Saturday, December 24th, the eve of Christmas. I believe it is the 7th night of Hanukkah. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And Kwanzaa is coming as well. Festivus for the rest of us. Happy holidays, everybody. I'm your boy, Johnny C. Ross Komarinetz with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. He is with us and looking very festive. If you're checking us out on Facebook, streaming live, or YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. There's Ross right there. Hey, Ross, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. The big guy's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, he is.
Hopefully everybody's been nice. Nobody's on the naughty list.
Oh.
Although with these temps,
I've been getting a lot of. You're gonna love this, Ross, because I know you're not necessarily a big Gator fan. I'm getting a lot of probably 7 or 8 in the last week. Santa ran out of coal this year, so he's sending everybody Gator shirts. Yeah, kick them while they're down, y'all. Kick them while they're down. I knew Ross would love that.
I like that.
But yeah, hopefully everybody has been nice, not too naughty. Jimmy D's with us on a Saturday, as always. That's Jim DePola with the Florida Home Pros team. Keller Williams Innovations is where you'll find the Florida Home Pros team. Jimmy D, how you be?
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody. Super excited about tomorrow. It is a beautiful day out. It's Chris said it wasn't that cold, Johnny, outside.
Freezing,
you are
man.
Getting kind of old.
Oh, freezing.
To be that cold. Hey, that's what I wanted to say at the beginning of the top of the show when we were talking about Willie's Pizza was Festivus, right? Because you mentioned Festivus at the top of the show too. I just read an article this morning about a writer for Seinfeld who created Festivus, and it was a real life thing in his family's life. His father actually, Festivus was real, and that was not a fiction thing. It was more of a reportorial account of this guy's life. So the guy, his name was Daniel something. The writer, he became a writer on the show for only the last year of Seinfeld. So he was only a writer for that last year, right? So he wasn't one of the old timers on the show. And he was at some party, and his relatives told the other producers on the show about Festivus. And the writer made a point of not telling anybody on the show about Festivus because he didn't want to do a show about Festivus because he knew if they heard about it that they would want to do a show about Festivus. So the relatives ratted him out, and then they bugged him all year to write the Festivus show, right? And that's how Festivus was created. But it was a real live show. And I mean, it was a real life holiday that the father created. And
so his dad gets credit for creating so the reason I love Festivus, there's two reasons: the feats of strength,
yes,
and the airing of grievances. I love
the airing totally true about all of that, including the aluminum pole. Remember
Love
the
it.
aluminum pole? And then with the airing of grievances, I forgot about this on Seinfeld, so I have to go back and watch it now. He recorded everything, so when you did the airing of grievances, it had to be recorded. I don't remember that on the show, but at least in real life, he recorded them all.
Well,
And
probably because everybody's wasted drunk and they wanted to revisit.
Well, the other thing is the father did it several times a year, so it wasn't just a Yuletide thing. Because
Quarterly.
whenever he felt like airing his
Quarterly airing
grievances,
of
it
grievances.
became Festivus times. So anyway, I thought that was funny too about Festivus. I'm a Seinfeld fan. I can't help it. I like
You
Seinfeld.
got to be careful. You can't merge the airing of grievances with the feats of strength, though. You can't. They have to be separate.
Yes,
Really
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So apparently his father was as caustic as George Costanza's father on the show. He's a big screamer, very upset all the time, very dramatic.
That's funny.
So anyway, I thought that was funny. That was like real. It's like, how the hell did they come up with that? So I wanted just to go over a little bit about trends, just a little bit, because we're probably going to go over it in more detail next week. The monthly reports came out for the MLS, for the Realtors Association of Palm Beaches. We normally look at the 6 counties, but I didn't really have time to go through them all this week. So we'll do it for the last week of the show, for the last show of the year. But we're only going to get through November. We won't know the full year stats until about January 20th, when the December report will come out. Here's a couple of takeaways about the reports, though. One of the things that was most surprising to me of the monthly reports, closed sales were under 1,000 for the month. That is tiny for us to be under 1,000 sales in 1 month. This is single family homes in Palm Beach County. Okay. We had 962. Last year we had 1,450. Okay. So that's a 30-something% drop. Okay. Pretty big deal. That to me was very surprising. I don't remember when, I'm trying to look it up right now. I can't remember the last time that Palm Beach County had under 1,000 sales in one. Here it is. Okay. Yeah. The lowest sales we had, actually, no. Okay. October, 979. This month, 967. But the low behind that, we always had a 1, almost 1,100 or larger. And we had as many as almost 1,800 sell in March. So we went from 1,800 for the high down to 967 as the low.
What were
So it's like a 50% drop.
What were interest rates in March?
3.11. Oh, in March? Hold on. Let me see. I got that right here because I'm the answer man when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah, because I feel like this is like pretty much like if we had like 4% interest rates right now, I'm pretty sure you got a 1 in your number.
We were at roughly between 3.85 and 4. So that's part of the reason, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Speaking, so couple of takeaways from this. Number one, the amount of sales is really down. I can't tell you that that's surprising. I'm just telling you that's what it is, right? So we're down for sales. Like this month compared to last year for Palm Beach County, 34% less sales. Now we're not talking prices. As far as prices, we're at 565. 565 in Palm Beach County is about a 10% increase from the year over year, but it's also a 10% loss from the high of the year. So at one point we were almost 20% appreciation in 1 year. Okay. And then we lost 10% of that because the interest rates went kablooey. We started the year at 3.11. And today's interest rate as of Thursday with Freddie Mac, 6.27. We went from 3.11 to 6.27. Now, 6.27 is actually a good number. And the reason why I'm saying that, this is the 6th week in a row we've had a drop in mortgage interest rates, 30-year interest rates, 6 weeks straight. You know, I was thinking about that when I was driving over here. That's 10% of the year. 10% of the year, we've been dropping, right? Now, the high we got to was 7.08. I just want to throw this out to everybody about my Swami prediction last year. In November of last year, I was starting to tell everybody was predicting, the national economists were predicting that the Fed was going to raise the bank rates just like they did this year. But they also predicted that we would get to 5%, 5% for interest rates by the end of the year. That's what they were saying. Maybe 5.25, they said. They're like the super non-conservative, the ones that were taking risk, were sticking their neck out to 5.25. And I told everybody they were on crack, right? I mean, it was very clear last year. You guys are wrong. Whoever's saying that is wrong. It doesn't make sense. And I based it, if you guys remember, I based it on February 2018, because 2018 was the last time the Fed started raising the rates. And I mimicked what happened in 2018 and extrapolated what would happen this year based on what happened in 2018. And my prediction was that we would be well past 5%. But I didn't think we'd get to 7. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen. I'm being fair. But I could see us in the 6s for sure. And where are we the last week of the year, or almost the last week of the year? 6.27.
Yep.
So now what the national economists are predicting at this time for next year is they're thinking that this is what's going to happen. The Feds are going to continue to raise rates through March. Then if inflation finally starts getting under control, they might actually start reducing those rates again. And they think that I haven't read any predictions on what's going to happen with interest rates, but what they did come out with was projections of how much appreciation we're going to get. And last year they thought we were going to get 10% appreciation. I thought they were on crack. They were right. I was wrong. Because right now it looks like we're 10% above the beginning of the year.
Right.
They're predicting 3 to 4% appreciation next year. So they were thinking
Normal.
10% this year, 3 to 4 next year.
So they're predicting normal appreciation.
They're predicting what would be considered a normal appreciation. Yes.
Yep.
And so we're expecting that to happen. I'm sorry.
So that prediction feels like there's a feeling of kind of a balancing in the market, the real estate market, that we're kind of returning to. This is going to be like the calm. It feels like that's the way they're like, all right, so interest rates are going to kind of settle in. Like the market will get back to 3-4% appreciation. So they're like, the market's kind of leveled off.
They're thinking, yeah, I think what they're thinking is they're making the assumption that the Fed is going to start actually not increasing the Fed reserve rate and actually maybe decreasing it, going down. And that tells me they think that inflation's under control, that they think by the middle of next year, inflation won't be such a big issue. I'm not sure I'm into that yet. I'm not sure I'm in that band camp yet. It might happen. I was right about the interest rates. I was wrong about price appreciation. We had Dan DeMott, our team leader for the office, who was explaining why he felt that we would have decent price appreciation this year. We did, which brings me to sellers, okay? All those sellers that are sitting there saying, I don't want to sell because this isn't a good time to sell. You're wrong. We had 10% appreciation this year.
Right? That's what I was thinking.
So,
I think, when you say that, I think a lot of people are like, oh man, I missed my chance to sell. And it's like, well, no. I mean, that 3% is based on 3% from what it appreciated last year. So you're still up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. So the 10% I'm saying that we appreciated this year is based on last year's prices. So, or the beginning of the year, we've gone up about 10% since the beginning of the year. And by the way, I mentioned Palm Beach County. We'll go into more details on this next show, but this is pretty much the same for all the counties. The numbers are very similar as far as amount of sales are in the 30%, 35% down. Okay. Here's a couple other things. We're seeing inventory go up. We went from 3.2 last month to 3.3 this month inventory. Normal inventory, an average market, just a regular, no crazy either way market is 6 months. So we're still way down for inventory, and we're still seeing appreciation. and we're seeing interest rates be down for 6 weeks. If you're sitting on the fence thinking, I really want to sell, but I'm waiting for the best time to do it, you're missing it right now because you're overanalyzing everything. The last couple of houses I put on the market, I got 98% of list price to sold price. The one that I just talked about earlier today, the investment property, it got 100% a list price. Okay. The county, so you can get it if you're pricing it right and you're showing value to people, you can get it. The other thing that's happening with the market today with the stats is other thing that I'm just pointing out the things I think are a little surprising was original list price to contracted price. So what did you originally have the house on the market for, and what did it actually go under contract for, right? For several months of this year and part of last year, we were at 100% or higher for the median. It was like 100. I actually saw it as high as 102% in one county for 1 month. 102%. So what does that mean? The average home in that county, or the median home sale in that county, sold for more than the list price. Yep. That's kind of crazy town.
It is.
Okay. Now I'm seeing 92%, 94%. Last month stats were 96%, 94%.
So you got me set up on the MLS for a little criteria, because if you've been listening, you know that we're looking to kind of sell our home and get a little more like a generational kind of home, right? So I get the email blasts, and I'm checking. You know what I'm starting to see more and more in the listing? Seller considering concessions, like in the listing. They're like flat out saying, "Hey, here's what we want, but we'll take less. Like, we'll give you concessions in the listing."
Yes, and it's happening a lot more, which brings me to the buyers. Okay, so the buyers that are sitting around waiting is like, these interest rates are too high, I want to wait. Well, here's a couple of things. Prices are still going up. Okay, so I can't look you in the eye and tell you right now that prices are dropping. Now, prices are dropping for individual homes, like on a case-by-case basis, but it's not a blanket mass drop. Everything's dropping.
Right.
I think we have a caller coming in. Let me get back to this in a second. Why don't we take the caller? Oh, it's Terry.
Let's say hi to Terry, who I guess is a former client, Florida Talk Real Estate, the team, and wants to call in, say hi, share his experience. Terry, welcome. You're on Florida Talk Real Estate. How are you?
Hey, Terry. Merry Christmas.
How are you there? Hey, Jim. Hey, I'm calling in to go ahead, Jim.
No, go, Terry. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I was just calling in to, say we're working with Jim, and everything's been, pretty good. And he's been, anything that he said he's going to do, he's done. And, so far so good, man. I'm real happy about my wife is too, about, how everything's going. We, as far as we were selling a house, just a mess, and Jim's been there to, help straighten it out. And it's been pretty positive to a real negative situation at one point.
Yeah, Terry, thank you so much for calling in. This is Terry and Crystal. Terry, I don't know if you heard a little earlier the show, but we kind of talked a little bit about your situation, how overwhelming everything was, that you lost one of your relatives. Crystal lost her dad. You had problems with the tenants. We had building and code enforcement issues. It was very overwhelming and time consuming. And we were trying to figure out how to make the most money for your house and still meet all the needs you have without overwhelming you with extra responsibilities. And we talked about, without using real numbers, we talked about how you're going to get about 25% more than what the We Buy Houses Fast for Cash offer was that we got originally when we started.
Yeah, that was probably, we've had like we get strings of bad calls and bad news and hurdles, this and that, and then the other day when you called it, it just kind of it lightened everything up a little bit. Actually, a lot. So I don't know. You hear guys talking on there about mumbo jumbo. Usually, what it is when I listen to the show. But when you're in it and you gotta really know what's going on or be part of it, you start listening to all that mumbo jumbo you guys are talking about because it really means something. You know, like how what was going on. The way you put it, it sounds a lot more. You know, a lot more. I don't know how to say it. A lot bigger of a problem, but you know, there was. You know, you came with solutions. So I just want to say thanks, man.
Thank you, Terry. Could you just share? I know that Terry's a very shy guy, so the fact that he's calling in is a very big deal. So thank you, Terry. I really appreciate it. What I wanted to ask you is, and this is more to help the people out there. I know that you've been a big Real Radio fan, so that's how you kind of started listening to us. But then when you called us, when you finally had an issue that you needed to call us on, and then we started working with you, what were the big takeaways that you would like other people to know when they're thinking about hiring a realtor or, you know, a mortgage guy or insurance guy or anything? Like what your experience was with us and what you want other people to know?
Well, I mean, that's pretty easy, man. It's a trust, you know, and how you build it with, you know, just like, you know, how you explained everything and you know, do what you say you're going to do and you do it, you know, and then you give all these, like every possibility under the sun that there is. And then you explain if it goes to any one of those possibilities, this is what's going to happen. And, so, you know, we didn't want any more surprises or anything, like not to go our way. It just seems like that this is going our way, and you know, just you doing what you say you're going to do, and doing it, and you know, knowing. I guess the way the trust was built is because you know what you're doing, and it sounds like you know what you're doing, and it looks like you know what you're doing, and then people say, you know, about the duck where it walks, talks. You know, it's a duck, so. So, I mean, I hate to say they use the dumb sayings, but you know, some people just talk the talk, and you know, you walk the walk as well. You know,
that's awesome, yeah, Terry. Thank you so much.
But my wife's just saying you went above and beyond so far, and it's true. I mean, the cliches are true. But yeah, the trust because it's not a couple dollars. You know, and me and my wife were just talking about it. We were throwing around numbers like, well, you know, if it's 19,000, we'll just go ahead and do that. You know, here we are, you know, on a budget, and we're throwing around numbers like, you know, 19,000, 20, yeah, we'll do, you know. But you know, that also too, Jim kind of reels you back a little bit because it's like you know, if it's $2,000, it's you know, it's very. I don't know how to say it, Jim, other than you know what you're doing, and we trust you and we're comfortable. And I don't think anybody else could have done what you've done so far.
Well, thank you, Terry. And I want to wish you and Crystal, Merry Christmas. You know, we're going to be talking right after that because we're busy. We're in the throes of the contract. But the cool part for you is no inspection. So normally I was saying, hey, we got to get ready for the inspection, but there isn't one on this house. And I'm very happy for you on that. And we're just going to move on to the next step. And you guys deserve a break. And right now, knock on wood, it's happening. The break is happening your way. And we're going to just keep pushing it that way for you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. Thank you. And when it's all said and done, then, you know, I'll go into the more detailed story as you know, from day one. When things started, that was the most interesting day I'm sure you had in a while when it comes to. But I'll call back, you know, and go over it all the way. But also too, Tim, whatever you want to talk about on the air about the deal, we're okay with. So
yeah, but I want to do that after we close. Okay, so I don't want to go into too much detail till we close, because until we close, we're the deal's still open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well,
seriously, thank you very much for everything.
you're welcome, Terry. Can't wait to talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Say hello to Crystal for me.
Happy holidays, Terry. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for putting your faith in the team. Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com, your one-stop real estate shop, and Terry's been listening to Real Radio, and thankfully he trusted in the team to go ahead and reach out and handle his needs. It sounds like I remember early in the program when you were mentioning it, Jim. You said it was it was touching you, and it was like holiday cheer for you. Well, how it's working out for them. And I know Terry calling in just gave you that little extra. Oof.
It did. And Terry is a very shy guy. And I don't try to pressure people to come on the show or anything. So he was like, he kept saying to me, man, I wanted to call this week, but then I got nervous. And and he actually felt bad personally. He was like beating himself up because he hadn't called yet. He just felt he needed to. And I'm like, that's cool, dude. I'd love to have you call, but call when you want. So for him to do it, it's hard for some people to come live on a radio show.
You ain't kidding.
Even though we're just having a conversation, like if we're having it on a cell phone, you know what I mean? It's like, it's the same thing. So, but anyway, really happy for them. Let's go ahead and take a break. And then on the flip side, I want to follow up with what's going on in the market one more time. Cool. And then we're going to round out the thing after talking about the market, talking about how that market crushed the iBuyer programs.
All right, excellent. We got a nice long chunk for you. You're welcome to join us. The toll-free number's working. Terry used it. Jimothy lined them up at 877-927-6969. You can call right now. Quick 4-minute break, and we'll get to your phone calls. And, of course, the rest of the fest. It's great to have you with us on this Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate has the .com at the end, your one-stop real estate shop. Access to the entire team. These are pros, experts in their field. You get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Back in 4 minutes. Great to have you during the holiday season. It's for Real Radio.
We'll be your friend. Follow us at Real Radio 92.1 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
From the Gordon Partners Weather Center, have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Lauren Oleski for CBS 12 News. It's a chilly one out there for us today with temperatures in the 50s. This is about 20 degrees below average for this time of year. Make sure you are bundling up. Staying a little breezy with the northwest wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Overnight lows once again dropping into the 30s. We're in the 50s again for the end of our weekend.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
We've all felt the impact of rising food prices. Families in poverty, they're facing malnutrition and even death. You can feed a family for a month with your $50 donation to Compassion International. Just text the word radio to 97646.
For more information about contests on the station, visit realradio921.com/rules.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Komarinetz, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's it. Toll free. You got about a half an hour remaining. Well, I'm lying to you. About 22 minutes remaining. If you'd like to make a phone call on this Saturday, don't be shy. You're welcome to 877-927-6969. Questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate? Anything on your mind this holiday season? Yeah, we'd love to hear it. Jimothy will line you up. Our producer extraordinaire, you make the call, we'll take the call. Johnny C is me. Your it says host extraordinaire. That's hilarious. I didn't even notice that before. That's a stretch. I'm just your air traffic control. That's all I do. Bring us in and out of commercial and throw in some ridiculous quips every now and then. The real important people are guys like Ross Komarinetz with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. Great to have you with us on a Saturday, Ross. How are you?
Good to be here on this Christmas Eve. It's like an early Christmas getting to see all you guys.
Nice. And I'm glad that you carved out some time this morning for us, too.
Yes, thank you.
With us. And Jimmy D is here on a Saturday, too. Jim DePola with the Florida Home Pro team. Keller Williams Innovations. That's where you'll find him. Jimmy D, how you be?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing very, very good. Just trying to stay warm in this cooler weather. When I was driving down here, so Singer Island was 42 degrees. And when I pulled into here into my Point Beach back cave, it was 45 degrees. So expect to see iguanas falling out of the trees. I haven't seen any. I got trees all around me, but I see no iguanas. And I didn't see any lying around when I was driving down here either. So we'll see.
Yeah, and if you're new to Florida, do not gather them to bring them in the home to warm them up. That is going to end badly for you. Don't do that. Just leave them lay. Let them be. Or go ahead and bring them in and see what happens. You can do that too.
There was one article I read from a couple of years ago where there was a guy driving around grabbing the iguanas during the cold season, cold day, and grabbing the iguanas and throwing them in their back seat, and they were planning on using it to eat. Some people eat iguana meat.
Sure.
And they were using it to eat, and they didn't realize about the cold spell thing. And the iguanas woke up while they were in the car, and he was driving around. And there were tons of these iguanas just like waking up from the dead in his back seat, and he was planning on eating them, all of them.
Whoops.
So gotta love it, right? Yeah. So we were talking about the statistics of the November reports that came out. So the monthly reports, and this is going to be the end of the year one because we don't get December's report until like the third week in January. So a couple of takeaways was, number one, sales are down way low. We're under four figures monthly sales for single family homes in all of Palm Beach County, right? Which is pretty dang low. Also, the list price to contracted price has dropped tremendously. Remember, I was saying that there were some months we were as high as 103% of contracted price to list price. Well, this year in Palm Beach County, there were 4 months single family homes where the median single family home sold for 100% of the list price. 4 months, March, April, May, and June, right? Now we're at 94%, right? So we're seeing that the list price, the average home is getting about 6% less than whatever it's listed at, right? That was the thing that was an interesting takeaway. The other thing that we're seeing is the monthly inventory. Right now, we're at 3.3 months in Palm Beach County. These are very similar to the other counties that are listening. So the reason why I'm focused on Palm Beach County, we're going to go into more detail about the whole year next year. But what we're seeing is that the inventory is increasing, but it's not increasing enough to really turn it into a buyer's market, believe it or not. So we were talking about with sellers, Ross, that if you're thinking of selling your home and you're thinking you're missing the market, you've missed the market, you really haven't. What we said is prices throughout the year were still increasing despite the interest rates. The houses were selling for a very high price. And that there's still buyers out there to buy your home, although it's taken a little longer. The average days on market at the beginning of the year was like 7 days on market, and then it would go under contract. Now we're in the 30s, right? Like 30 days on market. When we started this show, it was like 8 months on market, 9 months on market, 3 years on market, right? So we're still very, very low for that. So it's still a really good time to sell as long as you have good marketing, you're showing value compared to what other things are selling for, and you're very price sensitive. You have to be very price sensitive. So what does that mean? You have to make sure that you're checking every week to see how your house is competing with all the other houses, because prices are changing a lot. There are a lot of price reductions and things like that. You have to make sure that you're still competitive. Now with buyers, the buyers have been like sitting around waiting, right? Waiting for things to get better. Well, we've just had a 6-week drop in mortgage rates. We hit a high of 7.08 this year twice, and we are now at 6.27. That's more than a 3/4 point drop, which really helps out a lot for the buyers. The other thing with buyers is that you have more time to kind of make a decision on the house. You're probably not going to be in a bidding war. That's another positive for the buyers. Another thing that Johnny mentioned in the last segment, he's been watching on the MLS for the search I set up with him, that he noticed that sellers are offering what's called seller contributions, right, Johnny?
That's right.
That's where the sellers are offering to help pay for the buyer's closing costs or giving some other kind of incentive for the buyer to pick that home over other homes that are on the market. So don't let what you read in the newspapers is not the same as making a decision on what's good for you and your family when you're trying to buy or sell. Some people, it might be better just to hold tight. I'm one of those kind of realtors that doesn't think everybody should sell or buy in every single market. So you really need to sit down and figure out what your best options are. But if you're thinking of selling and you'd like to sell, but you have the drunk monkey in your head that you don't think you can sell because there's too many houses on the market, there's too many price drops, and I'm never going to get a good price for my house, and that sit down and talk to a professional. That might be true in your unique situation, but it also is more likely not to be true, and to figure out what your options are, your best options. We just talked to Terry just a few seconds ago, and Terry was talking about how I went over all the options and all the things that could go wrong and could not go wrong and go well on the sale of his home, so that he was prepared for all situations. I just did the same thing with Stan and Mary, which we talked about earlier. We went over all the good things about their property and all the things that might be obstacles to selling the property. We went over all that with them. You need to do that in today's market and get a real person that can consult with you and tell you all the stuff you need to know so that you can make an informed decision.
Ross, let me ask you a question. Do you know anybody else besides Jim that uses the term or the phrase "the drunk monkey in your head"?
I've never heard that before in my life.
Jim's the only one I know. It makes me giggle every time he says it. I want to get drunk with a monkey, and especially the drunk monkey, because like I'm sure he's a fun drunk.
Yeah.
Jim, where did that come from? Where did the drunk monkey in your head? Where did you pick that up?
Actually, that's a Keller Williams training thing, and they talk about it all the time. Have you heard drunk monkey, Ross?
No.
Just hanging out with all the Keller agents you do.
Mm-mm.
Drunk monkey is a mindset thing that you got the drunk monkey on the shoulder whispering in your ear, telling you all the things about what could go wrong if you do something.
Oh, so he's all like, you ruin everything. Anything you touch goes to poo-poo. So what are you going to do?
There's so many different kinds of monkeys too. Like, you want to be with like a small drunk monkey or like
if he's on your
big drunk
shoulder.
monkey?
It's funny. I think of a spider monkey. When I think of drunk monkey, I always think of spider monkey. I don't know why. That's the monkey I think of.
Yeah, I want to get drunk with like Clyde from Every Which Way But Loose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except if he got angry, you wouldn't want to be around him if he got angry.
He's a happy drunk, I think.
Yeah.
Right there, Clyde.
Right there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think I saw every single one of them and probably multiple times.
That's cool. Yeah. Drunk monkey. Try to squeeze that in this holiday season.
Yes.
I
think the first one was Every Which Way But Loose, right?
Think so.
I
Yeah,
think
Clint
the
Eastwood
first
movies.
one
For
was
those that
Every
aren't,
Which Way
you're
But
like, what
Loose.
are they talking about? Some old classic Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. A lot of people probably don't even know that. We have a guy on YouTube right now, Mike, and he was talking about how he just put his house up for sale in Key Largo, and he's now buying another one, and he's going to be buying again. And he's just giving some advice and stuff on there. So, it's really important to understand what's happening in the market and not listen to everybody, because let me tell you, I used to call it the buffalo herd, right? We talk about it all the time, been talking about it for 11 years on this show. It's like by the time everybody realizes what's going on, it's too late. The market has changed stuff. And we always try to talk about things way in advance as to what's going on.
Yep.
And we've been very on target for a lot of it. And you can sell in this market. People thinking that it's hard to sell. It really isn't. A lot of the agents you're talking to have never been in a market like this. So it might be hard for them because it's a new skill that they're learning, right? But if you've been a seasoned agent and if you study the market every week like we do, this is just it's just a changing market and things change. It's like complaining about changings of the season. What? I'm sorry, Ross?
I said, it's just not crazy. It's just been crazy the past couple of years.
And you know what? 10% appreciation. Johnny, what would it have been like in 2012 if I told you that we were having 10% appreciation in 1 year?
Oh, I probably wouldn't have been able to buy the home I was in. There would have been way more competition.
Yeah, it's just so crazy to think that this is like, oh, we're in a bad market. We had 10% appreciation this year. And if the interest rates didn't rise, who knows what would have happened?
Yeah.
Because we were on track for 20% appreciation in 1 year. Now that's crazy town.
Yep.
For your house to double every 5 years in value, that was unsustainable.
Not sustainable. That's well said. Let's talk about iBuyers.
Yes. So iBuyers. Okay. So the iBuyers, this is really interesting because I forgot about them because they've been around. They haven't been around for so long. Right. And I was very surprised. Hold on here.
And now iBuyers, we used to see the commercials all the time, like where they would say, "Oh, you look how much," and they'd always the interview with the people is, "I saved X amount of dollars in my commission costs," and as we always like to note, is like, well, yeah, there's possibility there, and it's not like it's a blanket statement where it never works out well for anybody, but Jim can pull numbers and show you comparatives, like, hey, I can more times than not actually get you more and pay for that commission. The numbers always matter. Is you got to break down the numbers, dollars and cents of all your transactions. But yeah, iBuyers worked for some, but if you probably paying attention, the commercials have really started to fade.
There's nothing out there because so many of them have failed, Johnny. So when we first started talking about this, like 5 years ago, we were saying that the average iBuyer customer that was selling their house through iBuyer was actually making 9% less than somebody who put it on the market and went out there and found a buyer out on the open market, right, on the MLS.
It's a lot of
Even
money.
for sale by owner was better than iBuyer, right, as far as saving money. And the reason why is iBuyers is an investment company. You have to make money by buying your house and then reselling it after a light fix-up.
Unless you're Zillow.
Right. Well, not Zillow. Right. Now, the thing was, when we started checking out all these numbers 5 years ago, I'm like, I don't know how they're making any money. I was saying that 5 years ago.
Yep.
How are they going to make any money? I don't see how they're making any money. And it took them a while, but we found out the way that they were making the money. And the way they were making the money is they weren't making any money at all. They were losing hundreds of millions and sometimes $1 billion. Thank you, Zillow. $1 billion loss before they realized, hey, you know what? As data analytics companies, Zillow and Trillia and Realtor.com, we suck at being realtors. That's why I always laugh when they start talking about the trends that Zillow and Redfin are seeing, and then they put it out as press releases, and then the media goes, Zillow says blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you mean the company that went bankrupt in their iBuyer program? The people that are telling us what the trends in the future are the ones that are failing buying properties. Do you see a disconnect there? I mean, I really see a big disconnect in that. Why would you rely on the trends that a company is telling you to make news when they failed at what they're telling you the trends are?
Jim, sometimes all you have to do is tell people you're super successful and they believe it.
It's like, hey, that's if you're driving that nice car, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Hey, nobody
that
responded to that. That was a pretty bad segment because nobody told me what they thought about. Do you need to have a fancy car or not in order to get the listing? No.
Oh, we lost Jim. Yeah. Does that mean we lose the whole connection? I don't know the answer to that. I think we're still on the radio. Jimothy, are we still with you?
Still got you, Johnny and Ross.
Good. I wasn't quite sure how that worked out. I imagine seeing Jimmy still up there was probably a good sign, but
am I there?
There he is.
You are.
I hit the wrong button.
I had a little panic there. I thought when you went away, maybe our whole stream went away. But
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Thank God. Okay, so let me just set a little foundation here, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so Redfin gone. Okay, Redfin Redfin is still a data analytic company. Okay, I think they have a real estate company. Okay, but Redfin, their iBuying property called Redfin Now, no more around. They shut down. Right? They couldn't hang. They lost a lot of money. They were like, being a realtor isn't what it's cracked up to be. I'm not doing that anymore. Open Door, $1 billion loss in the third quarter. The third quarter, $1 billion in the third quarter. Open Door, right? I don't even know how they're handling it. So that's kind of a crazy time. Just the third quarter, right? Some other company called Fly Homes, never even heard of this one. They reduced their workforce by 40%. Zillow Offers, that shut down in 2021. Zillow doesn't buy houses anymore, right? And they said they were going to come back, but now it looks like they're not coming back at all, right? And here's some of the other things I found out was interesting. In the Phoenix area right now, they were doing a study, the National Association of Realtors, the houses that were bought through iBuyer programs that are still on the market, they're reducing their sales price 2% every week. Every week they're dropping it 2%. Now, here's the thing that's funny about that. Let me give you a little tip, iBuyers companies. You should have hired realtors after you bought them for too much money. You should have hired realtors to sell the houses for you, because I bet you the realtors will get more money than you get. And you're dropping it 2% a week. So this is what I'm going to do, Mr. Redfin person, right? Your iBuyer companies. If you're really dropping 2% a week, I'm going to start analyzing your properties and find out what day you decide to drop the 2%. So if I know that you drop them every Thursday, I'm not going to be making offers until Friday.
Yeah, it makes me think about when I was buying. There was a home we were looking at. It was, and we were going to make an offer, and you were like, "No, they're going to drop." We're looking at price reductions. Like, there's one coming up here. Clockwork, like on the day predicted, they had another price reduction. Jim's telling you, he'll hose you. Keep doing it, y'all.
Can you imagine being that lazy where you just decide that on a certain date every week you're just going to drop the price, and it's always the same amount? That's the funny part. Every amount, right? It's the same. So it's like you can find trends like that. It's just a really lazy way of being a realtor, and it's not a very good idea. And I just think it's really funny. So these iBuyer programs, here's the headline. They're going to refocus and re-strategize. Right? So I always said that these companies didn't make enough spread in order to do what they're trying to do. And the problem with these companies they were just assuming that the price appreciations, which we had the highest price appreciation increases ever probably in the history of the United States I know of. Okay. We've probably never seen them go up that high, that fast ever. Okay. And these companies were projecting time forward, that it was going to continue that way, that the price increases were going to continue that way. And of course it wasn't. How are you going to have the highest price appreciation ever and have it continue forever? So that's how the companies went bad. These companies could do better by hiring top realtors to sell their houses. So just remember that for you. If you're thinking of selling a house, don't go to the iBuyer programs. They're probably going to crap out on you. The last thing I want to say about the article, a lot of them are making promises they're not keeping. They're backing out of the contracts that they went into because this market is changing so crazy. So don't let that happen to you.
Yeah, and sadly, advertising can and does work, and a lot of people were driven to it because the ads seemed great. They're like, "Hey, we'll save you a bunch of money. The market's just so hot." Ross mentioned it earlier, like with Jim was saying that it's just a different market. Ross said it's just not crazy. When it was crazy, when people heard, you just put a number out there, you're getting listings. When there's ads saying we'll save you commissions, people are just like, well, let's do that. It's crazy town. It's not that world. You got to maximize your dollars. It's the biggest investment, probably the biggest deal you're going to make when you're buying or selling a home. Don't you want to have people that are great at what they do in your corner, trying to make sure the outcome is perfect for you and yours? I do. That's why I tell you about FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. It's who my family uses. It's where I send my friends, the people that trust in me. I send to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. If you trust in me, remember FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Spent a lot of years on this radio station trying to build trust. Only lied to you guys a couple times. I'm trying to think. Maybe not. I might be lying to you right now. I don't know if I ever lied to you people. Maybe. It's possible.
But you said the Gators are doing good.
Willing to accept maybe one or two over the years. But it wasn't like anything extreme. But I am giving you the best of the best when I tell you to go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Let me say Merry Christmas, Jimothy. I hope you have an awesome holiday with your family, my friend.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Ross as well. Jim, Merry Christmas, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Ross Komarinetz, Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays to everybody out there, you guys, all our Florida Talk Real Estate family. And see you guys next week.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Ross is going to be with us. That's awesome. Jimmy D, Jim DePola with the Florida Home Pros team. Happy holidays. Thanks for all that you do for everybody as well.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. See you next week.
Yes, we'll have a nice big fest for you as we're rolling in on our 11-year anniversary. It'll be New Year's Eve next week. So we'll have some fun. Thank you for being with us. Please enjoy your time with your friends and your family. If you know somebody who's alone this holiday season, reach out to them. Maybe incorporate them if you can. I understand if you can't, but nobody should be alone during the holidays. So at the very least, reach out, send them some love. Please be kind to each other. Enjoy the holiday season. Be safe. Bundle up. It's freezing. Careful of the iguanas. And stick around. The locker room's coming up next. This is Joe and Greek and Jimothy. We'll see you next Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
The